Workday Security. We're going to cover the conceptual overview, the topics which comes under security, assignable roles, security groups, security policies, and then we'll close out this topic with some questions. So this is what all Workday Security is. Nothing outside this you need to learn on Workday Security. Obviously, there is advanced Workday Security as well, which comes with experience. You don't have to learn it in the batch. You can experience it and then entertain those learnings. Okay. So these are the different components that comes under your security. Starting from the rightmost item, we'll go from right to left, and then we'll go from left to right. The rightmost items called as secured items. Right now, functional area. Make notes of each of these. Functional area. All right. These are the different parts of Workday in which Workday is divided. So there's this report called as functional area. Right. So this report shows us that there are about 104 different function areas in the Workday ecosystem. And those can be seen in the second column. On the left, Workday solution. There are multiple Workday solutions. Workday comes in different forms. You have Cloud Connect, Core Financial, Expenses, Grants, HCM, Health, Inventory, Learning, Planning, Procurement, Project Billing, and about 25 plus different solutions. And each of these solutions, let's say, if I pick up HCM, which is our core part, and if I pick up recruiting, okay, let's see what are the different functional areas. Oh, did it not filter? Okay. So within HCM itself, HCM is huge, right? It covers a lot of these functional areas like academic faculty, advanced compensation, benefits, business asset, candidate engagement. This comes from recruiting, career and development planning. It's part of multiple solutions. It also comes under talent optimization. Then core financials comes under core financials, expenses, and all these other, right? But each of these function areas are nothing but different modules within the system, right? You can be a master of multiple modules, or you can be like an expert in multiple modules or a master of one module, right? Each module has a different use case. Each module requires a different configuration. Let's say you are a time tracking expert. Time tracking is a complex and a huge module. So you can be expert in that. Or you can be a recruiting or onboarding expert. These are two different modules, or I would say functional areas. Okay. Modules, there's nothing called as modules in the system. It's just a term coined by the Workday consultant that this is one module, this is another. These modules, the technical term is functional areas. Now, everything is divided in Workday in these functional areas, right? Each functional area, let me open up. So every functional area, if you see this particular visual, every functional area comes with its domains and business processes. Right? Every domain has a security policy. Likewise, every business process has a security policy. We're going to talk in detail on what a domain is, what a business process is, right? And then comes the security groups. Every functional area comes with a domain, business processes, and then they have their security policies. Without these, nobody can access a domain or a business process. And then there are security groups, which plays a game. So now coming back to this, in this functional area section, we have domains. Domains can have subdomains. We'll look into one of that, right? Let's look at something that we can relate ourselves to. let's say contact information. Right? This is a function area which is part of multiple Workday solutions like core financials, expenses, grants, HCM inventory. Okay. So let me open that in a new tab. We have the contact information here. There's a small description that says that set up, maintain, and report on names and contact information, such as addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. Right? So this domain or this function area is enabled, which has these domains, these ones and more 55, and has these business processes. Right? So let's say if I open up a domain from here, now you see that this particular domain has these subdomains. So it's not important that every domain will have a subdomain. It's not that common, but a good amount of domains has subdomains. Right? Now, like domain is one part of a function area, another part is business process. If you see the visual, it shows you like a swim lane diagram. Each of these steps are based on a particular condition or a particular logic, and then it moves to the next, and then you have condition logics. See this rhombus sign, this is like if else statement. If it's a yes, then it do a particular action. If it's no, then it moves to the next action. We'll come into detail of that a little later. But what are these domains? What are these business processes? That brings us to our next part, which is over to the left. Domain security and business process security. Now, each domain, if I look at this is a domain that we are looking at, person, data, emergency contacts. Now, this domain, if you see here, has about 86 count of secured items. Now, I'll request you guys to make a note of secured items. Once you write secured items, pull out 2 arrows from it. In one arrow, write securable actions. And in the other arrow, please write securable reporting items. One is securable actions and the other one is securable reporting items. Now, there's a count of 86. We'll come to that in a minute. Now, this particular domain tells us that it has about 86 secured items. And if you give me access to this domain, that means you will get access to all of those 86 items, which is an aggregation of different custom objects, different data sources, different templates, instance sets, report fields, etc., etc. We don't need to go into detail of what those are, but just a high level understanding that these are the secured items, which are again divided into different categories. Now, giving someone a domain access means that you're giving them access to these 86 items. And what are those 86 items? We navigate to them through these domain security policies. All right. How do you do that? Either click on this hourglass or the magnifying glass, or you can go to the related action and just right click here and open it in a new tab. And this opens up your security policy. Let's open up here as well. Right. Now see the difference. Previously, we are at a domain view. Right now, we are at a security policy level. All right. It says person, data, emergency contact. Now, this particular security policy shows you these securable actions and securable reporting items. If you add them up, this should come out to be a total of what you have here. 86, this comes out to be 84. So there are 2 items which are out of sorts. In the real-time world, that is not the case, but it actually matches what you have there. Right? Now, what are these securable actions and securable reporting items? The domains give you view and modify access to tasks or worker information. Tasks are nothing but single step actions like update a photo, change your photo. Change would be like a action step, but adding a photo would be a task, right? Uploading a document would be a task, right? There are many tasks and there are many different business processes. There's a difference. But to understand domain, primarily domains give you the view and modify access to worker information or to any information. It answers the questions, what do you see in the system? Domains answers the question, what do you see in the system? And the security policy gives you that information that, let's say, if you have access to this particular domain, which gives you access to this domain security policy, that means you get access to these 67 actions and 17 reporting items. And these actions, if you see that these are tasks, the type can be task, the type can be report expresso. Whenever you see a task, you will have a modify access. So if you want to add an alternate row for emergency contact, you should have the modify access, right? If I scroll down, we will have some report expresso, you see. These report expresso are nothing but a particular type of report in the system called as expresso reports. These are Workday delivered. You cannot change it. You cannot edit. You cannot make a copy of it. You can only use it as is. And these are mostly used. I'll show you that in a minute where they're mostly used. In this case, it says view only access because you cannot change anything. So there's no point of giving modify access. And all this that you see here, this view, modify, these different tasks, these all are Workday delivered. What we do as part of security is understand if I give view access to something, what do I know or what do I get to see? If I get modify access for something, what do I get access to change it, right? And this is listed here, view and modify, right? Report, task informations. One thing to understand and one thing to note is if you get access, or let me take a step back, come back to this visual again. Domains gives you access to view and modify. Right? I'm taking a couple step backs to get to a point where it will all make sense. Now, domains give you view and modify access. For example, if you're an employee, just a regular employee, not in the HR group, right? Mostly what you see for your peers and your colleagues or your manager is maybe their contact information, not to like in detail of what their home address is, in generic, what their contact information is, maybe a summary of what their experience was, where are they coming from, definitely no compensation, definitely no payroll information, definitely no performance related information. Right? For your colleagues, you can only see very limited information. But let's say if you're a manager, all right, you manage your team. In that case, you can see everyone's time off. You can see everyone's goals and milestones and performance ratings. You can see everyone's compensation, right? Because you're a manager. So how do a manager able to see it, but an employee cannot see? Obviously, ethics-wise, a peer should not be able to see a peer's compensation, but managers should be able to see it because they're the one who hired them, right? So that access all comes from the domains, different domains that a manager security group get access to versus an employee security groups get access to. And when I say getting access to, it's not like I can go in and directly assign a manager in a domain. No, they have to be assigned at the domain security policy. These security policies are nothing but like your gym memberships or your yoga membership or any kind of subscription that you buy to avail a particular service. All right. So these security policies are the bridge, are the liaison between your access to look and change anything in the system. Right. And another important thing is, again, I cannot assign a manager into the security policy. I cannot assign Logan McNeil in the domain security policy. Logan McNeil Logan McNeil must be a part of a security group. And that security group, is then added to the domain security policy. If you see something here, these are all different security groups. There's no user directly assigned here. We use security groups, we add them to the domain security policy, and that domain security policy, whatever that policy has, you will get that access. That means if I create a security group for myself and add it here, that means that security group will have access to all of these 67 plus 17 items. There's no way, or there's no alternate way. If let's out of the 67, I only need 60 something actions, I don't need the others. No, you cannot do that. If you're giving someone access to a domain through the domain security policy, they get access to everything that particular domain has. And the decision comes from the business. Who can see what? The person who do the changes in the system is a security administrator. So let's say if you are the chief human resource officer in your organization and you have started your own team, you have someone in the benefits, you have someone in the payroll side, you have someone managing your absence, someone managing recruiting and onboarding. All right. So what a recruiter should be able to see versus what a payroll person should be able to see, you will decide. Versus what a benefit employee would, versus what a benefit person would be able to see, you will decide that. And a security administrator who is a Workday expert will do the configuration for you. Obviously, there is some Workday delivered security that comes with Workday, which in the initial phases is more than enough to start your system, to go live with it. But as soon as your organization grows, you get to understand more about the system, those continue to get updated. Security administrator is not like that they only take care of security. Usually any HR admin, like the core Workday team, in most cases, all of them are security admins. So for example, if you are already working in an organization and I join in as a new Workday consultant, all right? So I need some security access to be able to, and let's say you hired me to do some compensation configurations, right? So I need some compensation related access. I need to have a compensation admin access, compensation partner access, different actions that I can take as a compensation person. So you will be the one assigning or provisioning that security access to me. And let's say once I become familiar, I've understood everything, did the configuration, and someone new joins in, then I can also do the same for that person. So all of us, the core Workday team, are security admins. Right. In most cases. Thank you. Because see, if someone new joins in and you want to give them access to security, there are multiple ways of doing it. It takes only about 5 minutes. 5 minutes is also, I'm exaggerating. If you know Workday security, it should not take you more than a minute to give them the right security access. 2 minutes stop. But understanding the concept of security is very important. That takes time. And we'll have about a week at a minimum, and we'll make sure that everyone understands security to the core of it. So now that we are familiarizing ourselves, I'll take all the steps back. I'll go to the initial setting where we're looking at the functional area report, right? We see that we have this business or functional area. If you see something here, this also gives you the same information that these are the domains, these are the business processes. And we are looking at this domain, person data emergency contact, which we opened up here, right? We got to understand that this is the domain, this is the small description, it comes under this function area, these are the subdomains. And if I have to give someone access to this domain, that means I'll have to pass through or become a member of the domain security policy. And that domain security policy gives me access to everything this domain has, right? Now, there are some child policies if you see here, right? These child policies are nothing but the subdomains. If I go to the domain, you see these are the subdomains, and the policies for subdomains are called as child policies. Giving access to the parent domain does not necessarily mean that they automatically get access to the child policies as well. Every security policy, or I'll say every domain, whether it's a parent domain, whether it's a subdomain, has their own security policy. Now, I was saying that the child policy can have a different set of security groups accessing it, and a parent policy might have a different one. It's absolutely okay. But always remember that if a child giving access to the parent policy does not necessarily means that the child policy will also have the same access. Sometimes, let's say if I'm giving someone access to the person data emergency contact, that does not mean that they get access to person data emergency contact home address part, or get access to emergency contact work address. If I want to give them access to change these as well, or view this, then I have to access this policy like I accessed it here, and add in the right security group and give them the access. Okay. So that is how it works. And see, this visual and this visual, these are very powerful. This completely explain your security. So right now, what we did is on the domain side, we understood what a domain is. Now, we only understood in theory what a domain is. We did look into the tenant that this is a domain, but looking at one domain does not help. So what you need to do is open up this report, run the report function areas. Right? Just spend about 10-15 minutes reading through different function areas. Right? Then navigate to your contact information. Open up your contact information. Once you open it, read through it. Just read for once. Then open up any domain, any 5 or 10 different domains, open them all in different tabs. Like right click there, open a new tab. Likewise, open about 5-10 domains. Okay, and then just read through them. What that domain has. Does that domain has any subdomains or not? Okay, if that have any subdomains, open those as well. Make notes wherever you feel necessary. Once you open up the domain, read through it. Familiarize yourself with the system. You don't need to spend time on these. These are not something that you need to worry about. Don't worry about those. Just see that what are the secured items. Once you do that, navigate to the security policy, either from here or just right click here and open it in a new tab. Again, read through it. You can skip the errors and warnings. That's absolutely okay. Read through it. Open up this. Read through the list. See if it makes sense. If it doesn't, put down a question in your notes. Come back later with questions. See what these reporting items are. These reporting items are nothing which are used in reports, report fields. So look through those and just read through it. You need to see these domains every single day in order to become a security expert. See at least 5 new domains every single day. And if you're not comfortable with contact information, pick something else. Pick like onboarding. Pick your onboarding function area. Open that up. It's taking a while. Performance enablement is one of the functional areas. Open, if you want to look at performance, open that up. Read through it. You have these many domains. Just read through business process, because in the next session we'll go over business processes. Open up, let's say, performance data competencies. There's not much to read here. What you can do is open up the security policy for it. And then you have all these different securable actions and securable reporting items. Open them up and see what those are. Work sets, you can skip work sets. It's not in the scope of this course, so you can leave that. You can open up the reporting items. These are different report fields and different security groups which has access to view and modify. Just make yourself comfortable in opening up security policies and navigating to domains and picking up the function areas. Even if you're not able to connect the dots, that's okay. Eventually you will. But right now, just make yourself comfortable in navigating to these domains. The more easily, the more frequently you will work on these domains, the better it is for you. Pick up at least 5 different domains. If time allows, pick up 10 different domains, different functional areas. If you have more time, pick up different functional areas. Open up more policies. You don't need to remember anything. Just understand how to open up the policy and read through it. Okay, so let me show you something. Let's say if I navigate to any particular employee, let's say some Elizabeth Johnson. Okay, so the way Workday has designed the security is not the same everywhere for every domain. All right, so let's say if you're talking about contact information and I go in the edit mode, there are different sections. You have the primary emergency contact as the parent section. Then you have an alternate emergency contact, right? So your parent policy or your parent domain can be emergency contact. And this alternate emergency contact can be a child domain or can be a subdomain. So based on the business decision, the business can decide that, let's say, give the HR admin access to edit or modify alternate emergency contact or not, right? So giving access to the parent policy does not mean that they'd also get access to this. Though in the security policies, there is an option which says use parent permissions. By clicking this, that means automatically every security group that has access to the parent policy will now have access to the child policy as well. But it's not important, or it's not for everywhere that everyone will have access to alternate. So if you want to restrict this, that means you don't get access to the child policy, you only get access to the parent policy or the parent domain. But again, this also depends on what you're working with. Not, like I said, not every domain has subdomains, but if there are subdomains, then it's understood that there are different contexts to it or different parts within a domain. That's why there are subdomains. So Workday has very efficiently created all these security elements for you, right?
Okay.
All we have to do is work with the security groups and give them the permissions. But there are cases where you have, like in the case that you say that you have a domain A and domain B. right? And a particular user need some part of domain A and some part of domain B. So one way is, which is not advisable, is create a domain, create a custom domain, and add all the common things that you need to give access to that user, and restrict it by giving them access to just that domain. Or you open up, let's say, domain A and see that they need access to domain, let's say, item 1, and they don't need access to item 2 and 3 in there, but giving them access to 2 or 3 does not harm anything or does not open up any extra access. You can give them that access as well, which is a recommended approach. And how do you navigate to those? Are using these securable actions and reporting items. Right? So you can either create a custom domain and only add those permissions which you want to give them access to, or you check these securable actions and reporting item and see that if I give them, because giving them access to this domain policy means that they'll have access to all these, right? So, or either find a different domain, again, a Workday delivered domain, which gives them more restricted access than these ones. So that is the only way you can restrict it. That is how the restriction works here. So let's say if I'm the new hire in your organization and you wanted to give me compensation access, you have provisioned the access in the sandbox environment. Now you will proxy in as me and see that I'm able to do the actions that I needed to do my day-to-day work. For that, yes, you need to be familiar with that functional area a little bit, but that comes with time. That's okay. Right? It's not like you know every domain. And see, these are 67 items here. You don't need to know what all these 67 are, right? You just need to know what compensation access or what contact information access would mean the most. And you just need to scroll through this slowly and see if there's anything which looks like giving them access to any personal information or highly sensitive information, right? That comes with experience, but that's okay. As long as you know how to provision the access, that's a very, very good start. That takes you a lot of steps ahead than any security beginner in the system.